Hello, everyone. Greetings. I'm glad to be here with you today. I was called today to talk about a very specific and special subject, which is celestial wisdom. I really hope to be leveled up to this. In fact, when all this invitation started, I was totally excited about the news. I was chosen to be able to talk about the forest, and I'm totally passionate about it. I believe that for the last 7 years, I have been unstoppably speaking about it with all of my friends, and I was like, oh my god, I feel pity for them because I just can't stop. And suddenly it was like this. Let me tell you, it's like a person like this. Talk about the forest, talk about the forest, talk about the forest. And when comes an invitation to say, oh, can you please talk about the forest? Then the person gets stuck. I was totally stuck. The thing is, I was a little agitated and euphoric because I was super excited for the invitation. And I'm very pleased and honored to be here. This is total honesty, honest feeling. And I started searching for inspiration, and I was like, oh my god, how can I get rid of all this agitated feeling? And I was called to be filled with this calming energy that requested me to take a deep breath, calm down on my energies, go to a point in me with more humbleness, because if we're too like euphoric or agitated, we go to an ego level that puts us a little bit more away from the force. As long as if we actually got calmer and humble, we would be closer to our spirits, because the further away from pride, the closer to spirit, right? And the other way around too. If you're too much on your pride or ego, you get far away from your spirit. So considering all of that, I started calming my mind, and I was like, hey guys up there, I need inspiration. What's going on? What can we do together, right? And I was like, okay, what are the best first things that comes to your mind when you talk about the forest? And I was like, oh my god, this is huge. And it's a classic, right? With great power comes great responsibility. And when I thought of that, came to my mind the first thing that has been going in my mind for the last 2 months, which is power is not actually ours. When we gather power, we are actually being allowed. We got a permission. So powerful people, they're not like powerful people. They are like very allowed people. They got a lot of permission, spiritual permission, right? Because only comes down to earth what was already agreed on astral realms. And I was like, okay, this is not like my power. This is like my permission. For the last 7 years, I have been so deeply passionate about it that I did like this little, how can I say, not like a joke, not like a rehearsal, but I went to do this thing with the forest where I imagined myself to be in a movie on a cinema, okay? And I projected to the cinema screen my life as it was going on back then, because I was an international buyer and working with logistics is super stressful. And I was like, okay, this gives me a job, but this doesn't fill my heart. I really would like to tap into spirituality as work. And I felt very honored because of all this, because this was a chance for life changing, for a direction that I really wanted, because as I said, I'm super passionate about the force. Okay, now when I talk about the force, we have to be really careful, because I'm not relating it to no religions at all. Okay, I have visited a lot of religions. I was born in a Christian home, but I wasn't so identified with it. It felt like had a bit of mistakes on it, and I started looking. Okay, when I was in teenage to youth, right? Okay, I left Christianism about 14 years old. I was still a teenage, and then I felt like searching for all this stuff. And when I talk here about the force, I actually tapped into a lot of religions to bring this, because they all have good stuff and they all have tripping stuff. And I carefully chose to identify with that touched most deeply my heart when I heard it, summing all the information, right? So when I come to talk to you guys about the forest, I'm not tapping into religion. I'm tapping into what we call in Brazil for independent spirituality, okay? Because I want to touch spirituality in general, not only related to a line of thought, a line of belief. And I got inspired by this very diversity ways of thinking about the force. The first thing that crossed my mind was this. It's a sentence. I believe it was Saint Augustine who said it, but there are some registers saying it was Hermes Trismegistus. I'm not sure. I just saw the value of it. I do believe it's Saint Augustine, but I don't think this is under discussion. So the sentence was, God is an infinite circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. And okay, this is a good start, because this is very big. Can you imagine a being so big that to represent it, we can use a circle, and the center of the circle is everywhere and everything. And this circle doesn't have an edge, because this circle is representing eternity. And this gets wow, because when we talk about eternity, what is eternity, right? Eternity would be close to no time. So if there is no time, there is no past and there is no future. You have the now. And in the now, you touch all eternity, because if you're in here with the self, in and now, you're here, you're alive, you're on you. If you're on your past or on your future, you are on your mind. You're tripping distance far away from your body. You're going on your mind to do some travel directed to some subject completely far away from the now, from the present moment we're living in, right? And with that, I got this kind of ritual to myself, a sentence that I say to myself like this: when you're in the present, you're touching infinity. Because right here, right now is everything that is going on. And then I got to this, that I watched Bashar. I don't know if you guys know about him. I totally love him. I totally love Abraham Hicks too, and we got one of those in Brazil too, but he passed in 2018 anyway. I was listening to him, and there was this question that was brought up to him, and the question was like, okay, if there is no time, that means that everything is going on at the same time. Then how and why do I only see this? And Bashar did this amazing metaphorical comparison, okay? He was like, okay, think like this. If you're in a movie, you go to see one part of the movie per square, per footage, right? But the guy in the background projecting the movie, he's got all the movie in his hand. He's got from the beginning until the end, he has the movie in his hand. So, us not having future or past and everything being simultaneously happening would be like the great forest. He's in the background projecting it, he's got all the scenes in his hands, but we're in the, how do we call that? I'm sorry, just a little, excuse me. Audience. Oh, what an easy name to forget, right? So we're in the audience and we're watching the movie of our lives, and in there we're watching footage per footage. And the forest back there has all the movie completed from the beginning into the end, and he has all the movies. And I was like, okay, this is a great idea actually. So if I'm in a movie, I'm watching myself, and there is this being back there projecting it, and if I'm only watching footage per footage, I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know the name of that in English. I don't know if it's square by square would be this translation for Portuguese. Anyway, I thought, okay, so he's there, he's got all the movie completed in his hand, and he lets me access him, right? I can talk to him, he allows me to do that. So, okay, I'm gonna go to the movie. I need to talk to the guy in the backstage. So I had that planning, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna meet him in the movie, in the backstage, okay? In the night, in the middle of the night, I was alone with myself, not distracted by anything, because there was this feeling calling me, and it was telling me, I don't want television, I don't want mundane stuff, please fill me with very deep things. And I thought, like, okay, how about that chat that I want to have with the bigger man? Okay, let me tell you, I'm gonna use him. I said before, right? I'm gonna use him because I'm used to it, but I don't think he's a force of masculine. He's everything, so he could be a she, in my opinion, okay? Because it has to be both, actually. He generated both forces, so he cannot contain only the masculine force on him, the yang, right? He has to have the yin and yang, right? So even because this is balance, which is representative of him, her. So I'm only saying this to explain that I'm gonna call him because I'm used to it. But please don't be limited to that idea. And anyway, I was wanting to have this very deep conversation, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna talk to him now. And I got into my mind. In my mind, I went into a cinema. I sat in the audience area. I put my life as it was happening by then in the screen as I was watching myself living that life at that point. And I looked to the back projection room, and I thought of me looking back there and saying to him, okay, I want to talk to you about this scene. And then of course, I excused myself to go talk to him because I like to be very polite with him, even though I know it's not necessary because he made us, and he knows all about us, how we express and everything. But I like to be polite with him because of all ideas of authority and all of that. And I was like, excuse me, can I talk to you about this scene? And he was like, okay, come in. What do you want to talk? And I was like, I don't like this. I'm not having fun. why do I have to go through this? I want to leave you. I want to talk about you. I want to be able to look at you all the time. I really want to try to make other people see you, not necessarily as I do, but at least open a little bit of their eyes, okay? I really wanted this. Can you please, if I'm here and everything is in your hands, everything is going on simultaneously, and if you have all the situations in my life going on, I know that I'm here. I have to see footage by footage, square by square, but can you please turn the movie to a more pleasant thing? Can we like take the camera and choose to change our vision? And that was so interesting, guys and girls. It was such an interesting movement to do, okay? I know that there is this, let me check the translation just a bit. PNL em inglês é NLP, is that it? Neuro-linguistical programming, I think this is it. And NLP, okay, NLP. I know that this sounds like an NLP exercise, and it actually kind of is, but I used it to talk to the great force, the origin, seed of everything, right? The one with no beginning and no end. So it was super interesting. I was there with him, and he was like, "Oh, you come ask me that, huh? Okay. Do you know what's going on with all the world? Do you know?" And he started like a list. "Do you know what's going on with this and that and this and that?" I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I shouldn't have asked. You know better. I'm sorry. I just wanted something funnier. But okay, I'm gonna accept what you're giving me." And I accepted, honestly. I didn't stay sad because I know his wisdom. And okay, I continued living my normal life, and out of nowhere, guys, I have to tell you this because this is so much, okay? I talk to him, and I talk to him so often that I probably allowed to receive his voice right into my head, speaking in Portuguese or English, whatever, right? Because it has no limits. And he can speak to me in Portuguese. I can hear him in Portuguese, okay? Right? Precisely like hearing, but not from the outside, from the inside. But it's like hearing. So I was accepting the process as I know his wisdom. I have seen it. I know how it works. I have lots of ways to understand it besides hearing it in Portuguese. But I'm talking about it because precisely like 1 week before, I was talking to him. Hey, big old man, big old grandpa, I don't know. I do want to work. It's not that I don't want to do my part in society and my family and everything. It's just that logistic is too stressful. Isn't there anything like nicer? Can I not do something more related to my passion? I mean, I spend, I believe, 70 to 80% of my days talking about spirituality. Can I not live like that? But as I keep doing these questions from time to time, it seems to me that I'm doing like this very big prayer, but in months, and I speak parts of the subject in each chat I have with him. And I was already hearing that my life was going to change. I was a little scared of that, but he was like, "Don't worry, you're gonna like the change. Just feel that you're gonna like, and then the transformation can already start, right?" And when I had that chat with him in the projector room, I was like, Okay, I understand him. He probably has other things going on and other plans for my life. I need to wait for it. Doesn't matter. It's just a matter of wait. I'll wait. Don't worry. No problem. Doesn't matter. I'm not upset. He's got something going on. He's the righteous being in the world. I'm not gonna doubt his answer, okay? And I stayed in my path trying to figure out my stuff and what to do next because I wasn't working with logistics anymore. And the money was good, but the life was not that much, so I really wanted to change. And I decided to feel very calm. And he gave me a tip. To tell you about this tip, I'm gonna have to do a small addendum with a little story again. In 21, I had a motorcycle. I was working as a motor girl, delivering stuff, and my motorcycle got stolen. It's a brand that's not usually stolen, and because of that, I parked on the street. My mom even told me to put in a garage, but I went to put my daughter to sleep. I forgot that the motorcycle was still on the street and I fell asleep. And okay, when on the next day I woke up to start delivering, there was no motorcycle. And I heard this voice telling me, calm down, everything is already solved and you need to calm down to see it. And I was like, okay. I calmed down. I know I had been stolen, and I was like, that doesn't matter. I really did reach that level of trust. I thought of staying on a bad mood. I thought of freaking out, but then I was like, oh, doesn't matter. I know it's going to be okay. Okay, this is what was around 9 a.m. When it was around 6 p.m., I received a call from the police telling me that they had found the motorcycles and the stealers, and that I needed to go there, check by myself, and everything related to the process of when you're stolen, right? And I was like very calm. I was like, okay, it's part of the process. It has to happen. And here we touch a little bit of the subject, life tarot, because as tarot has symbolic messages, life also has. And in Brazil, we use a code for our cars made of 3 letters and 4 numbers. In those 4 numbers, when I bought the motorcycle, I had a specific chosen those 4 numbers with 3784 because I wanted to know, like a message to myself, I wanted to know who was born in 84 like I did, what would happen when this person would be 37, because I wanted to know about me and myself. And this is super interesting because the stealing happened precisely when the person from 84 was 37 years old. So I think that I had chosen that board because I was already trying to warn myself that something would happen when I was 37. Okay, so this is a little bit of life tarot because this is how life tarot works. It sends symbols from happenings in your life to try to show you bigger things. I love it. And the motorcycle was there. I got it back. It was broken. It got fixed. And why am I telling this addendum? Because back to the projection room chat with the bigger man, I was like, okay, I accept your answer. And he gave me this tip. He told me like this: do you remember when your motorcycle got stolen? I said, yes. He said, do you remember I asked you to be calm? I said, yes. And he said, do you remember how it got solved with you getting stressed or anything? And I said, yes. He was like, okay, I need you to do that again. Can you do that again? I said, okay, I know how to do that again. Because if I found that trust in a day after being stolen and I still kept on a good mood, I can do this now. I'm going to do this now. Don't worry, I'm going to be calm. Like, in the stealing day. And life is so amazing because he was telling me in Portuguese, don't worry about the things you want, because when heaven forces, astral forces, want something in your life, you don't even need to send a resume to get it. This is very powerful, okay? I hope that this already touches a little bit of faith in your heart, which, by the way, is the necklace I'm wearing. It's written faith in Portuguese, okay? Can you see it? No, it's kind of hard to see, but this is it. This is a necklace for faith. And I was like this. He was telling me for a week, 1 or 2 weeks, was continuously telling me, don't worry, when you need something, when something is meant to be yours, you're not gonna need to send a resume for no one. It will come to you. I will not allow it to not come to you because I want it to you. I was hearing it constantly. Okay, back in the end of the chat with him, he only gave me those 2 messages, and I was like, okay, I'm calm. Let it be. Whatever it has to be, you know what's better. You have everything going on as we agreed before I was born. So I will trust it. And this was like that, and this was super firm, and I was like totally normal. I had just 1 day before, I had just fixed my Upwork presentation on astrology and tarot, because I have 2 profiles on Upwork, one for translating, another one for astrology and tarology and mystical stuff as channeling. And I had just updated my Upwork, and I sent a lot of proposals. None of them got answered. I was spending all of my connects. People who use Upwork know how this feels. You spend a lot of your connects and no proposal gets back. And the bigger man kept saying, don't worry, when it's for you, you don't need to worry and send the resume. I'm gonna make it happen. Don't worry. And okay, I was there, my life was going on, and I was under that promise of not freaking out. And I was telling my friends, guys, I'm so this close to freaking out, and this is so interesting because I'm under this challenge of not allowing myself to freak out. I am on a deal to get something bigger, so I need to do my part of the challenge. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna be calm. It's funny, I was with my partner that day, and he was telling me, how about our bills? I told him, don't worry, I'm under a challenge. I need to be calm. And he was like, okay, I get it. This does look like a challenge. He's very spiritualized too. He knows things before they happen. He's very good at that, by the way. And he understood, he knew about the motorcycle stealing day, and I said that the challenge was like that, and he said, okay, so I know it is going to be okay. If you're saying that, and if you're talking about the motorcycle challenge, I know it's true. It will happen. And okay, we got okay. And I was under this challenge of not freaking out about the bills. And I was watching TV, and I thought to myself, oh, I'm a little tired of Netflix. Let me go to see if I get some more work. I went on Upwork, and there was an invitation for this opportunity that I had not even inscribed myself into, because there was no proposal opened. There was just a direct message specifically to myself into my account asking me to have a chat with the owner or owner. I'm gonna call him owner of Love and Moon Boutique, asking me this invitation. Can you chat with me so we can check if you could be our celestial coaching? And I was like, oh my god, did you just really? Is that true? Is that real? Is that true? Really? You just sent me that? Oh my god, I I was freaking out inside with my mind blown, but totally calm out here. And I was like, okay, wow, you answered super fast. You made it seem like you were not gonna give it to me, but then you did. And I got super thrilled. I want to say that again. I'm very honored to be here with you guys, having this opportunity of talking about the forest. I'm super. I was blessed. I have no other word. This is a blessing to me. Okay, and now the celestial wisdom. All of that to not talk about his wisdom, but okay, we're gonna tap into his wisdom. So, as I was saying, I got totally stuck. I had spent 7 years talking unstoppably about him to any and everyone. Oh my god, I was feeling pity for people to walk around with me. I was already asking my friends, can you please warn me if I'm talking way too much about spirituality, because I don't want to change your energy or anything you wanted for today, because I want to keep talking about bigger things. So this is part of it. Me telling you this story is already part of how these things happen and how they gone. And faith is the key, okay? Even if you're not religious, keep that in mind, okay? If you have faith on something, you go after it, and you find ways. Even if one way did not went right, you look for another way, and you keep looking for ways until you get there. But when you not believe, you're so not believing it that you're not gonna look into it. So it's not gonna happen because you didn't believe it. You didn't even want to look at it. And okay, so keep this first thing in mind. The faith, the believing that you can, brings it closer to the you can. And if you don't want to believe, and if you don't want to talk and look at it, you're not even gonna go after it. This part of the conversation touches a little bit of atheism. I was already atheistic. I'm sorry. Atheist. Okay. I was already atheist until like 2005, something like this. I was dating this physician, doctor, PhD, physician in physical, not in medicine. He was a PhD in chaos. And walking around him totally left me super logical, without intuition, disconnected from my emotions, and very atheist. At this point, I touched this subject because I'm not gonna get to have this conversation with an atheist. If you're an atheist, you have already chosen to not look at it, so it's not gonna happen to you. You're gonna keep saying, I'm not gonna believe because I didn't see anything. But you didn't believe anything, so you're not gonna see anything, so you're not gonna believe anything. So I'm not even gonna try to talk to you about this. We can go on other subjects, but this is not a subject for you until you may change your mind. And I don't even want to sound offensive, but today I see a person that calls herself atheist or himself atheist. I feel kind of not pity, but I feel like some compassion, like so sad that he cannot open his third eyes, him or her cannot open his third eyes because there's so much more to see. And talking about all of those stories and how things are happening for me already shows a little bit of the great force's intelligence. But why am I saying all of this, right? First, I do have a lot to say. And celestial wisdom is an eternal chat, because The things I just talked to you guys about, they are little pieces of how these things work in my life and how I testimony them, and how those messages and their meaning and the fact that they're working for me, they show me that celestial wisdom. And of course, I cannot in one audio, in one video, explain all my vision about the celestial wisdom. So I know that pretty much we're gonna talk about it in here all the time, and little by little pieces of it, informations around the subject will come up. This vision will be each time clearer because we're gonna tap a lot into this, even because I cannot do what I'm doing without tapping into the force. But those little messages, how it comes to talk in my mind, how it prepares a future, how it inspires me to pray in parts, in steps, all this is a little bit of watching it happening, watching the force working in your life. Why do I talk about the atheists? Because if you are already a mediumship or channeler, I don't know what's the name in English, I'm sorry, but if you've got mediumship and you can see all the invisible world, maybe you won't have a doubt of what I'm saying. You will know that what I'm saying actually makes sense. But if you're an atheist, my words are not going to make sense to you. So this wouldn't be the place for us to chat. Not being offensive, just being like, this conversation wouldn't please you. You know, this is more logical than trying to pull you away. But if you feel like a atheist and if you want to be here to join this and participate and create opinions and all of that, you're more than welcome to join us. I would be glad to be watched by someone trying to open their minds. This is actually part of my path. This is part of my passion. When I get to touch someone's life, to have the chance to help them opening their third eye, their faith, their the other world, the vision to the other world, the other dimension, because actually the world is the same but another dimension. If we could go on logics, the minimum that we can say is like this: we have a spectrum of light that we see. I don't know how much is it, but I know there is a limit, and I know there is more underneath it and above it, and we physically don't capture it. So if in physical level are already happening stuff that you can't see but you know that are happening, why wouldn't be some other stuff happening in other places that we don't see? But okay, we can train this. If you're looking now to start mediumship, and if you're interested in opening this third eye, I'm totally here for you. Please, let's chat together. I would love to be there with you. I would love to be able to help you opening your third eye. I've got a lot of practices and exercises to do regarding your body and your mind to start receiving the third eye, because the third eye is not so easy to open. It can actually be quite scary. It brings a lot of life crisis because everything starts changing, because your way of seeing life starts changing. So if I could give an idea, if I could give a smaller idea from all the experiences that I had, what I can tell about the force and the fact that it has no beginning and no end is like this. Let me give you a small example, okay? So we have love for anything, okay? You choose what to love. What do you love? Do you love a person? Do you love an image? Do you love a place? Do you love things? There are people who like things, right? I like things. Whatever. Take that love, the feeling of love. Pay attention on the feeling of love. That feeling, only the feeling that you can feel inside your body and your receptor of emotions, right? So when you talk about your feelings, try to come to the most essence, you know, the essence, the center of the feeling. The center of this feeling of love that you share for someone or for someplace or an experience. Take that feeling and feel that feeling. Pay attention on that feeling. that feeling passes through you, but it has no limitation, which means there is no beginning and no end, because it's love. It's this great huge capacity of everything that is under creation, that was created, that is still going to happen. And what I know about him, the force, is that like this: if you want to know him on you, I have a tip. I could give you a tip. This worked for me. I hope it works for you if you would like to try. If it doesn't work, maybe you have another way of receiving it. It happens, okay? Not always we're gonna be able to testimony or experience the force with the same way that others did. It's also a little bit part of Carlos Castaneda's books, because he's talking about the way that people receive and perceive wisdom. And he talks about this. There are people who can realize wisdom by dancing, by singing, by talking to other people, by only thinking, by writing, by watching, by observing. So the experiences, they can vary a lot. But I'm gonna give you a tip, okay? So it's like this. You have wills. You have wills, okay? Those wills, they come from within you. Let's suppose you have the will to raise your arms. I had the will to raise my arms, okay. What in me chose to raise the left arm instead of the right one? What made me go here? And where the feeling of I want came from. So let's touch this little piece of it. Where the feeling of I wanted started. Where did it start? That force that comes from within you, not by the thoughts, okay? The thoughts, they're influence. They have lots of influences, both from living and dead people. So forget about the thinking. Feel your will. That place of your will that make you want to move this arm instead of this arm, and that make you want to do whatever movements you want to make. Only two beings can touch that will. One of them is you, and the other one is the divine force. And why is that? It's because you are the divine force. You are part of it, okay? Let's talk about the sun. Sun. If you see the sunlight, are you being touched by the sun? If you got like, the sun is not directly to be looked to from your perspective, but you can feel the warmth and you can see a ray of light touching you, not your eyes, but it's touching something like your arm or your back, and it's touching you and you can feel its warmth, right? You're touching the sun, and this is like us. We touch the divine within us, because we're part of it. The same way that the sunlight is the sun. You only get the sunlight because of the sun, because it's there. You only get this will and this divine power because you are divine. We are actually going to go very deep into each part of things. We're still gonna study a lot of tarot. We're still gonna study a lot of astrology. We're gonna tap into channeling. I'm gonna find a lot of mystical tools, mystical and yet very working real tools to bring us by, so we can learn a lot of aspects from spirituality. But this is it. If you want to find the force on you, look at your will. Only you and the divine force, which is part of you, can bring that will to you. You can generate it or you can receive it, and that's what we call inspiration. And where do you think that those inspirations come from, right? It's out of, like, an artist, okay? Out of nowhere comes to his mind a music, composition, lyric, or a poem. Out of nowhere, something completely gorgeous, like Cosmic Love from Kitaro, something completely mind-blowing, like that song, comes to be inspired in someone's heart, where do you think that it come from? Do you think that we, only us by ourselves and no one else generates them? No, we get inspired. And who is this inspiration? Love is this inspiration. And that's how we touch it. Touch the divine. Because he's love and we get to love. So this is my tip. If you want to feel the force within you, you need to find this this feeling of love. Focus on the essence of it and see how it goes through your body. Because when you touch love, you're automatically touching the divine and the original force, because the original force is love, right? This is actually even biblical. What else do I know? I know that the force, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna get into religion, I'm against that, but the force is pure love. How can love choose? Love is freedom. Love is true. Love is everything there is. Love is unlimited. So how could it be in only one religion? So that's why I say to find God and touch the force, I looked up and got inspired by pieces of lots of religions from all continents, because I like to be culturally spread, if I can say it like that. I like to be surrounded by cultures, so I did not only look for what's going on in Brazil, but I went a little further with some readings from other people from some other places. And the most interesting part of true, which is super valid, maybe necessary to say, if we're gonna go into this very deep for someone who is really searching, is that when you see something that is true, and you see that same true in another culture, but with another shape, spoken in another way, with other names, but the base of the belief feels like the same, then you're tapping into true. Also, true in your heart feels like true, okay? So you're looking into subjects, let's suppose, and you're looking into spiritual themes, and then you hear a lot from everywhere in the world, and you see, oh, this in that religion meets that in that religion, and talks a little bit in a different way about that religion from that other culture. You get to touch it, and when you see them all together, you realize, okay, this is true. This I can say that is true. It's spread in several cultures, explained in many different ways. It is there, and I can see it, and it makes sense. There is this feeling of makes sense, okay? Truth makes sense. Even spiritually talking, because we may not know logically something, but we know in another way, which we call intuition. Intuition is a form of knowing without even knowing how you know, right? So there is knowledge from logical, and there is knowledge from perception, from energetical perception, because true feels like true, lie feels like lie. So when you hear a true and you see it spread in many cultures, and that makes sense to you, you will know you're touching true. And if you're touching true, there is no other way. You're touching the force, because the force is real, okay? You couldn't touch it if it was a lie. But what is my idea? If you want to touch it, if you really want to touch it, start asking, okay? Put on your imaginary this invisible force, and go and talk to this invisible force. Invisible force, I want to see you. In my way of receiving it, in the way that you can find openness in me to see you, or in a way that you can open me to see you, but please let me see you. When you start wishing, and when you start putting that energy to the world, the universe automatically creates situations that will make you live it and experiment it. So this is a little, okay? I hope that the sum of all the stories that I got for us here, they could give you small ideas of the whole. The timing here is not enough to talk about celestial wisdom because we're gonna talk about it from the beginning until whatever is did not end, because I really hope it doesn't finish. But we're gonna touch it a lot, okay? I cannot like put everything in here because it's a lot. It's a way too deep, it's a way too big, and it's so in a way too many places, and people talk about it in too many different ways. What I learned from that is that it is true. The force doesn't have problems with names. You can change the names. He doesn't get offended. Because when you're searching for love, the love will open up to you because it's love. And love doesn't reject. Love and doesn't separate. Love bring together, unite. So my idea to you is look for love, not for something, not projected to something, but look for the feeling, the raw feeling of love. And you will be touching eternity, and you will be close to the force. You will be precisely touching the force because the force is love. Okay? So, okay. I think that I got to us what I wanted today. And I want to thank again Love and Moon Boutique for this space. This is the best. This is the best opportunity for whatever, for people who want to learn, for me who wants to share the passion, for people doubting of this, for people, whatever, for many situations. This is super wow. This is beautiful and it's amazing, and I'm very glad that we could be here together to show this to the world. So thank you very much, Love and Moon Boutique. I hope that we can grow together unlimitedly, and I hope also to grow around all this path with you guys. And let's be really super open out there, because not only because this is a nice chat, but because this can heal a lot of people, and this is heart healing. It's heart comforting, people who are in pain getting to feel this very depth that can touch super deep in the soul and make you feel your spirit. So thank you very much, everyone, if you joined me up to this point. If you didn't, thank you too. If you just looked at it a little, thank you too. If you don't want to look at it, thank you too. Thanks for everything. There are no mistakes, I know this, and I know that there is something to come up out of this. So I hope you get to be here together with us, because I'm very thrilled. I hope I'm getting to pass part of my passion and touch you in this spiritual place, searching for faith. And thank you so much. Have a nice day, have a nice weekend, and I hope to have you here again very soon.